He's like, it went from 70 to 95 all night, and his face still turned pale white after he read through the 2015 NFL draft. But we're like, why don't we turn back the clock? I was like, who was drafted in Matt Ryan's draft? That seems interesting. And we found a gold mine in 2008.
Yes, we did. So for those who forgot about this draft, or maybe were shitting in diapers when it occurred, let's give us a rundown. We'll go through notable picks in the first round, notable picks in the later rounds, go over positional value players, right? Wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, tight ends, and defensive players. But the first overall pick in this draft was Jake Long, tackle for the Dolphins. He ended up being a 4-time Pro Bowler, an All-Pro, but Jake Long goes first overall. Following him up, we have Chris Long, 2 Longs back-to-back, Super Bowl champion Chris Long. And then we have Matt Ryan, and then Darren McFadden. And then this is when it starts to get pretty hilarious. We have Glenn Dorsey for the Chiefs. Didn't do anything in the NFL. Vernon, 6th overall, fitting. And then we had the Rams draft Cedric Ellis. Didn't do much out of USC. Derek Harvey.
The Rams are N.
Yeah. Oh, that's the Saints. I'm sorry. I don't know why it's R. The fuck? Where's the R in Saints? My bad.
New Orleans. That's N for New, and then OR for Orleans, I guess.
It'd be NOS for Saints. Every other team does. I don't know. Either way.
No,
Just
well,
put NO.
Miami has MIA for Miami, and then St. Louis has STL for St. Louis, ATL for Atlanta.
Yeah. So where the fuck does the R come in? Wouldn't it be new or okay? I don't know. Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know. That could be it.
No, I get your point though, because all of these are like a phrase, but they just took like the first letter of the first word and then threw or on top of it. So like you're right, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because like Miami is like a part of Miami, but you took 2 things out of order and put it together.
Yeah. I hate that. That didn't work out at all. So they took Cedric Ellis. He did not very much. Derek Harvey for the Jags. Who would have thought the Jags didn't pick the right guy? That's compelling. And then Bengals take Keith Rivers, who played 74 games, and I believe he left pretty quickly. He was only on the Bengals for 3 years, and they cut his ass. And then
he sounds
Patriots
like
legend,
a firefighter, though.
Yeah. And then 10th overall pick, we get Patriots head coaching legend Gerard Mayo. Actually a great linebacker in his time, but god-awful head coach. We actually have a few head coaches in this draft. And then if we keep going through it, Bills drafted Ledois McClavin. I think his name alone makes him a Hall of Famer, if I'm being honest with you. Ledois McKelvin. That's a sick name.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Played till 2016. He passed the name test for sure.
He, unfortunately, his skills didn't, though. But he was a defensive back. He played decently. He was okay. And then
you can't fault him for playing on Buffalo after OJ, though.
That's true. Between Jim Kelly and Josh Allen, the gap, anytime you're in Buffalo for those 25 years, like that team, those teams were always bad. EJ Manuels of the world, Fitzpatrick.
I hate that anytime I hear EJ Manuel or Deshaun Kaiser, it's like,
yeah,
I start getting cold sweats. I have a fever right now, and it's like,
he's got Kaiser fever. And then, so 12th overall, we got Ryan Clady for the Broncos, Jonathan Stewart for the Panthers, and I believe he was on the 2015 Panthers.
Yeah, he
infamously.
was. Yeah, retired in 2018. I remember because watching him was like, he was like running in slow motion. It's like Cam handing him the ball, 3-yard dive, but he was just like a solid running back. He's kind of like the OG Najee Harris, to be honest. He's like if Najee Harris couldn't catch.
Yeah, I can agree with that. He averaged basically, what did he average? Yeah, like 3 yards a carry. He wasn't like excellent, but he was solid. Yeah, 4.3 yards a carry. He had that one season in 2015, but otherwise, like, he had 1,000-yard season total. Yeah, he is kind of like the Najee. And then this draft is kind of littered with offensive linemen. Like, this is a huge offensive lineman draft. Chris Williams for the Bears, Braden Elbert, guard for the Chiefs. And then we have
has more yards per carry than Najee. Najee's best year is 4.1 yards per carry.
Maybe Chargers will change that, but I don't know about that. And then the guy that legend of the game, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. If I'm not mistaken, I know he was drafted by the Cardinals, but spent some time with the Eagles, the Giants, kind of bounced around a little bit, but related to Antonio Cromartie as well. But he was good. Pro Bowler, Remember him being very successful. And then another tackle taken, Ghoster Shirellis. Doesn't pass the name test whatsoever. And then Joe Flacco, still playing. Legend of this draft.
Yeah.
Arguably put himself in the Hall of Fame conversation just with what he did with Cleveland 2 years ago. Like that
Yeah.
alone put him in the conversation, if he wasn't already a Hall of Famer. Plus, getting the endorsement from the 45th and 47th president calling him elite, like the argument of whether he's a Hall of Famer, I feel like the president has given his stamp of approval, put him in the Hall of Fame.
We're gonna put him in our national park of human statues. We'll call him Flacco. Some people call him Fluco. I call him Flacco.
Have you seen that video where he's like, Joe Flacco is an elite quarterback. He's very good,
Yeah.
throws a great ball. You ever seen that video?
Yeah.
It's
No,
amazing.
like that, like you kind of get like the thing of he was like, Joe Flacco, I hear a lot of good things about Joe. And like Theo Vaughn talked about like meeting Trump. He was like, how are your parents? Your dad? He's doing great. He's like, oh, my dad's dead. He's like, well, he was doing great. It's like when you meet him, he's just kind of like, he's just kind of like he's like from a different time period. And like he's super polarizing and controversial. And like The Apprentice was the #1 show because he was yelling at people the whole time. So like it's kind of hard when it's muscle memory to just say, "Ha!" Like we all have moments where it comes out, but like when you're the president of the United States, like it gets a lot more polarizing.
Oh, absolutely. But Joe Flacco got the stamp of approval by not one, but two, 45th and 47th president. Pretty impressive.
So if
Something
you're
that
the
no one else.
Ravens, the question is, would you rather have Lamar's career, say he wins 4 MVPs, gets to a Super Bowl and never wins it, or would you rather have Joe Flacco and you get to the Super Bowl, but he's an average quarterback for you? Or he's not average, he's above average, but he's not like Ben.
He's not dramatically above average, though. He's like, I guess, kind of like where Matt Ryan was, although Matt Ryan had a few better seasons. But I feel like Lamar, the story's still being written for him. He's just shown that he shrinks in big moments so far, where I hope he can shake that. But ultimately, I think trading a Super Bowl victory, there's nothing that beats that. And I think that, ultimately, I think what caused them to win that Super Bowl was the fact that Joe Flacco went like God mode for those 4 games, had one of the greatest playoff runs ever. And then they also had Terrell Suggs and Ed Reed and Ray Lewis all in that defense. That defense was absurd. So really, like, I don't know. I think I would keep Joe Flacco's career, honestly.
Yeah, no. I remember the specific moment I decided I'd die on a hill for Joe Flacco was the Denver divisional round game.
Yeah.
Down 3 touchdowns, and then suddenly Torrey Smith, Vernon Davis. It's like,
Yeah.
or not Vernon. It was like that other. I think he was the tight end. Anquan Bolden. That was who it was.
Yes, I do remember. But finishing out the first round, we had more tackles. We had Jeff Atoa, who played 14 games for the Panthers. Aqib Talib. I believe Aqib Talib is now a Hall of Famer, if I'm not mistaken. Or at least he's in the conversation now. He's on the ballot now for the Hall of Fame. Played for the Patriots. Played for the Broncos and a couple of other teams, the Rams. Very good corner. And then more tackles. Yeah, he was elite. Then we have another tackle, Sam Baker. We have a string of 3 consecutive running backs. And this one is hilarious because each of them gradually grow better. But the first one was terrible. Felix Jones for the Cowboys. I don't remember this man at all whatsoever. He was actually pretty ass.
Bro,
Rashard Mendenhall
Felix cannot be your first name as an adult man. I'm sorry, but Felix, like all I think about is that stupid cat from whoever makes that. I don't know if it's Warner Brothers, Looney Tunes, or Disney, but you cannot be walking into the NFL, a bar, a room of other adults, and be like, yo, what's up? My name is Felix. Like, no, change your name before you come into the NFL. Get a stage name. That's what it's for.
Now, if his name was just Lix Jones, Lix Jones, gets rid of the fee
Better.
part, that guy's running for 2,000 yards.
Or just Fee Jones.
Fee Jones, Lix Jones, X Jones, but just can't have the full 5 letters.
Yeah.
Even Feely Jones, maybe we're more interested.
Yeah, no.
But you put those 5 letters, together, whether it's in Madden or in real life, he's going to bust. And that's what happened. He never had a 1,000-yard season. He averaged approximately, he averaged 4 yards a carry, but he just didn't do anything in the NFL. Eventually plays for the Steelers as a backup, but he does nothing. But then
we need
the Steelers
entire episode for your Madden stream of you creating an entire team of Felix Jones, not name Felix, just a different variation.
Feely Joan. I would be down for that. Madden streams are coming soon, guys. You're gonna
They're
Appreciate the
coming.
Madden verse. You guys don't know anything about the Madden lore now. Trust me, Marcus is a great safety for the Seattle Seahawks Legion of Doom rebuild. OJ Simpson, running back for the Oakland Raiders. He just had a great season as well. There's a lot of great lore coming around. I made Aaron Hernandez a linebacker as well. Killer linebacker. Like I ended up, funny enough, I'm like just going through my rookies that I drafted. I just simmed the draft, and there was an Aaron Hernandez that was just a linebacker. I'm like, they made Aaron Hernandez just naturally in Madden as a linebacker. I'm
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna juice this guy's stats out. He's gonna be the best linebacker in the league.
yeah. If you ever stream other sports or other sports games like on purpose that you're bad at, like tennis, because it's super hard for no reason, or like PGL the show, you should do like a UFC career of Aaron Hernandez.
Oh my god, I would do that. Yeah, I will definitely be streaming sports games in the future, building my super teams as I do. But nonetheless, NFL 2008, Rashard Mendenhall, right after Felix Jones, and he had a weird career because he was good, but he wasn't great. Like he had really like the Steelers kind of juiced the most they possibly could out of him. He had 2,000-yard seasons, and then he slowly started to fizzle out. He had an injury, and then the Cardinals picked him up, and he died, which is kind of what happens with the Cardinals signing people to their death wish, ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they signed James Conner too. Weird.
Yeah, they just kind of kill him. That's what they do.
They decided to turn their fate around with running backs though as soon as they traded David Johnson. That's where it started to turn around because you got James Conner, who I feel like has been way better in Arizona than he was in Pittsburgh.
I would agree with that. He's been really consistent. Touchdown machine. So, yeah, I would agree. And then the next pick after Rashard Mendenhall, we have Chris Johnson. And Chris Johnson was the best running back in 2009. I feel like had one of the greatest seasons ever for any running back. Rushed for 2,000 yards.
He was the Madden cover, right?
Yeah, it was the Madden cover. And I believe that team, oh, no, that was the Jeff Fisher era. They didn't do anything. But if Jeff Fisher wasn't their coach, they probably do. But he rushed for 6 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Plays great. And then you'd guess it, goes to the Cardinals to die. Goes to the Jets first, then goes to the Cardinals to die. And he's just never the same. Even on that Cardinals team with David Johnson and Carson Palmer, that's just like his last leg. He never survives, and he fizzles out of the league, sadly.
Yeah, but he was a solid running back, and he had an elite season covering Madden, and then I remember Chris Johnson always being really good. So yeah, definitely like it's weird how it kind of goes worst, medium, really good. We see this with receivers all time, but like a stretch in a draft where three positions in a row are taken is always interesting when you have like guard, 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 corner, corner, receiver, receiver, quarterback, quarterback, quarterback. Like it's always interesting to see how those pan out. Like you get like those small spots in a draft. I feel like that's the really interesting part to kind of look back like, okay. And it's kind of like you're guessing. I don't know. Did Tennessee get lucky?
Yeah, it reminded me of that year that Quinton Johnson, I think it was like Quinton Johnston, Jackson Smith Najigba, and Zay Flowers are all drafted in a row, and Jordan Addison, actually. There's 4 consecutive wide receivers taken, and so far, Quinton Johnson has been the worst, by far, I think. And then, like, maybe Jackson Smith and Jigba goes third. I don't know how you would rank it now, but I feel like the best one is probably Zay Flowers, maybe Jordan Addison to some extent, but yeah, 4 receivers taken in a row, and I feel like the 2 worst receivers were taken first, which was Jackson Smith and Jigba and Quinton Johnson.
Yeah, and honestly, with Zay Flowers, I feel like Zay Flowers is a good one, but I feel like if he was on Minnesota and Seattle, he would be doing pretty similar numbers to what Jordan Addison and Jackson Smith and Jigba are. So it'll be interesting to see Jackson Smith and Jigba have a full season without DK Metcalf and see what numbers he puts up. But he looked really good last year without DK, and I think seeing him play without DK, I feel like that's why they sat him at the end of the year. It's like we just want to see what the offense looks without him.
Yeah, I can agree. I think he's talented. I think easily the worst of those 4 is Quinton Johnson. He has no hands.